So let's jump back to the last question, and then we'll close it out. But like, what would you say to someone who feels like the gospel isn't for them?
Or like, what do you even do? Is that like an
What do you
awkward
even do?
moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I actually just shared the gospel on the plane this last week with a lady who it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
I
So
would
she
say,
thought.
so she thought, yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be praying for this lady. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
The Lord is going to break through.
Come on.
But I would say if you think it's not for you, it is absolutely 1000% for you. But she could not get past the fact that God would torture his son like that. Like that was really, really hard for her because she's like, I could never do that to my child.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know that's so hard to comprehend, like that God would allow that to happen to Jesus. But I was like, that's why it's so amazing what he did, because he went through all of that pain and all of that torture. He literally went to hell for us. And that's why it's like, wow, that Jesus would do this. It's an amazing thing that he did. And she just could not get past that. And for me personally, I tried the route of like arguing with people and trying to get them to see, and that does not work. I'm telling you right now, it does not work. It just puts up walls and people get defensive. And so
100%.
when that stuff happens, I try to do my best to just like explain it, and then I'm not going to argue with you. It's just like, that's how you are. And I literally just pray for them because I've seen prayer work so many times.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm not going to change your mind here today. I planted a seed, and I'm just going to ask the Lord to continue to, bring people that can, keep planting seeds, and eventually they'll come to know him.
So what I hear you saying is like, if they don't receive, like if they're like, nah, this ain't for me, it's just like, okay, you put them, on a prayer list and be like, all right, like totally understand. I'll let you go. I'll respect that or whatever. But they can't stop you from praying.
They can't
for
stop
them.
me from praying. I'm going to be praying, and I do.
Prayers are effective.
They
That's
are
right.
effective,
Prayer
and God will
works.
keep chasing them down. And so
That's good.
I have a
That's
similar
good.
question real quick, just on like the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, I feel like a lot of times evangelistic, not even just like church ministries, but even like churches, like ones that like have stronger like evangelistic leans, or even ones that don't. I feel like a lot of people get like up in arms about like the follow up maybe of sharing the gospel. Like that's something I've heard, or I didn't hear about until I went to college, and I was like, oh, all my like theology classmates are like fussy because they're like, why would you share the gospel if you're not going to do anything afterwards? So I like how like something that we're big into is also like discipleship. So after the fact,
yes.
so like other end of the
next
spectrum,
steps.
like that was like, yeah, like people who like respond, they're like, that's not for me. For like the people, like the students or even adults who are like, oh dude, like I need this, like I need Jesus. Like what are like good next steps for that?
yeah. And
In a collision context and a non-collision context, just in general, like what?
yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, well, at Collision, we really strongly believe in discipleship. So we are telling students, you shouldn't be out sharing the gospel unless you intend to walk with somebody that's open to learning about Jesus and wanting to follow him, right? Because it's not our job to just be like, well, here's the good news, and then good luck. I hope that you can figure out how to have a relationship with the Lord and what that looks like and what that means. And so we share that you're going to get 4 different responses. So we call them red light, yellow light, green light, and blue light, which is a believer. So red is obviously somebody who's just like
nope,
they're closed
not today.
off. That's okay. We're not even going to, try to argue with them. It's just like, well, we planted a seed. Yellow light is maybe somebody who's not right now. They're not like, yeah, I'm open. But a really simple question, like if somebody's even engaging with you and still having conversation, is just like, are you just even open to learn more about Jesus and who he is? And 9 times out of 10, they will say yes.
Wow.
It's like, great. Then let's just, read some scripture. And so we have what we all call Discovering Jesus. And so it just goes through scriptures about Jesus and his character and who he is. And then for those that are like, yes, I want to follow Jesus, like I want to receive this gift, then we're like, great, would you be open to just meeting and learning more about who Jesus is and what it means to follow him? And they're always a yes. And then we have, learn to follow Jesus. So just scriptures of like, what does it actually look like to follow Jesus? What does he call us to do in response to kind of what he's done for us? It's just like, he wants us to share. He wants us to love people, right? Like, how do we have the characteristics that Jesus had in our life? So.
It's so good. And that's not to say that there aren't times where you do feel a calling and a burning to share the gospel with somebody that you're not going to be able to meet with or follow up with, but you can, like maybe. That lady on the airplane, if she had said, yes, I want to follow Christ, CG could have encouraged her to Google churches in the area and get plugged into
took a picture of me, put me in her phone.
Okay.
She wants me to keep calling. So like, I would say she's a yellow, like she's a no to the gospel, like right now.
Yeah.
But she like kept talking to me about things, told me her whole life story. So like, I intend to still
stay in contact
with her and pray for her and like see if anything comes of that.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, and I think there's many ways, like, because like part of it is like let's take that airplane scenario, right? It's like someone that's like, one, technology can,
that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Like we have technology, but then also it's like, hey, let's like look up churches in your area, or let's get you connected with a pastor, or do you have any friends that are believers that know the Lord? Let's get you connected with them.
Yeah.
And I found that like that has like helped me, that has worked for me, is like connecting people with like, okay, I'm gonna quick look up like a church that I know like is like I hate saying this, a denomination that I can trust, kind of thing. Or actually like calling that church and be like, hey, this guy lives in your area, is there a pastor that can call him, kind of thing? Because then you're, like, especially with being in a parachurch ministry, it's like, okay, hey, we're trying to get them into the church so that if I can't disciple them, there's someone there that can walk alongside them, that can be with them to disciple them, and to make sure that they are, helping activate their faith and helping God water that seed.
Yes.
And just a comment on this piece of the conversation. This was something like I personally didn't even understand fully or like implement myself until I started working at Collision and heard about like, you should follow up with them and like disciple them or get them plugged in with a local church and get them plugged in with a local church. I didn't do that. I would just drop gospel bombs and peace out. So this has been like life-changing for me personally, this aspect.
And I think that's the difference between like evangelism. Like evangelism is like going out and sharing the gospel.
And it's necessary. And
it's necessary and it's needed. But also disciples is like just as important.
Emphasize that.
Yes.
Just as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think sometimes we get caught up in evangelism. Like people getting caught up on like, hey, I got to go out and share. But then what?
Yeah.
And that's why discipleship, like I put it like this way, is like evangelism is at surface level. Discipleship is where we go deep.
Yeah.
And discipleship is like sometimes can be lifelong.
Oh, it is lifelong. I just think, like I said, I've been a Christian for 20 years and I am still learning things all the time. And there's, God's put people into my life who speak to different areas that I need to learn and grow in. And it's so important because, you don't just get saved and know everything. And like, it's all
crazy download.
Right. Yeah. There's so much about God to learn, and
you're like a little duckling following the next duckling who's following the Lord.
Yes.
Duckling discipleship.
There's always somebody who's further ahead than you, right? And you're always further ahead than somebody else. So it's just like walking with them.
Yeah,
go ahead.
My pastor said it this way. It's like we've never arrived, and then my brother says it this way: we're not all knowing, we're all growing.
That's good.
So good.
Cool.
Yeah.
And all the training that we're referring to here can be found on our website at collision.org/training. So if you want to learn how to share the gospel, you want to learn, you even want to grow in your understanding of the gospel, or you want to learn how to disciple people, start at our website.
And that will be linked down below.